Hey everyone, so I guess with this video, I have been, know I explained from my previous video how certain things in the media, we basically pay attention to certain things on TV due to our insecurities and how focusing on what we see is something that we truly want and we wish that we had a certain item, a certain style, or wish we were like that certain person because we don't feel comfortable with ourselves. Well, with I watch a lot of reality shows. Not only like if I somehow it's just time for me to relax and I just want to enjoy watching something, but from learning about certain things in philosophy, I forgot which philosopher it was. What, but I think it was Confucius. But one of his sayings is how you observe another person, admire their good traits, and basically emulate those good traits, and whatever negative traits that you see in that person, try not to make those same mistakes yourself. And lately, I mostly, of course, I've been watching mostly the Kardashians, and recently I've been watching a lot of Teen Mom since mostly uh the and some of those people that are on Teen Mom, some of them are in the same age age range as me, and looking at how they struggle and looking at my friends personally of how they struggled, of the ones that for those that got pregnant at a young age, I guess that has taught me a lot of certain things, and especially observing the families when having a baby unexpectedly and especially not being prepared for it. Observing some of those type of families, I try to learn my lesson or try not to repeat the same mistakes as other celebrities that have gone, that has either been represented uh not represented as they should be, or they were just misrepresented. But watching their mistakes, and especially watching other different type of families from reality shows, I know some of those reality shows are not always accurate, and then there's some reality shows that are accurate. So when it comes to reality shows, we can't really tell which one is reality and which is not. Most of us can tell if it is acted out, but for the reality shows that are really reality shows, I try not to. I try to make sure that I don't repeat the same mistakes from their family, because coming coming from a family where everybody is very controlling of each other, it it kind of make it kind of makes you aware that you have to be really careful of how you present yourself, because when you've been controlled all your life, being controlled of how you say things, how you dress, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to talk, how you're supposed to have these certain things and not have these certain things, uh, what items you're supposed to purchase, what items you're supposed to have to basically present to others, and basically having things being controlled and having things that are not really even your style, not even really your your sense of style, your sense of well-being, your sense of attitude, your sense of personality, and trying to have your personality merge with somebody else's expectations is really, it's really hard when people never even grew up in a very controlling environment. So I guess I know growing up in a very controlled environment, you tend to get really angry, and you say a lot of things that may be inappropriate to others, especially if they don't see the whole story behind it. And uh I guess in a much simpler way, when we see someone talking smack to family members, or when we see someone disrespecting so disrespecting a family member that they should respect, when in our culture and society we're taught to basically automatically respect family members right away we're because we're related to them. That may not always be the case for some certain people, and people may not understand this concept. um what I mean is that not every family may not every family may not follow the norm that we were taught to follow. So, for the culture, the dad is supposed to be the protector of the family, the provider, to basically guide the kids. Same thing with the mother. Mother is supposed to help nurture and guide the children, protect the children, um, and is supposed to show love, support, and care for the children. And children are basically supposed to obey parents. They're supposed to they're supposed to uh, respect their elders in most cultures, but not a lot of people understand that not every culture follow that certain sort of norm, and not every family follow certain expectations of what we're supposed to be, and not every family member, especially certain parents, not every parent choose choose to give birth. Either they were either in a bad circumstance, or they were forced into having a child. If we go through the past, there of course, and we were women were forced into basically give birth, and we're supposed to automatically provide for them, but they were just in a very bad circumstances at that time. And people don't most people don't realize that every family is different, and people I'm not saying that uh that not I'm not saying that all parents don't really love their children, but I'm saying there's going to be a small percentage of people that basically gave birth just for either money, bad circumstances, or especially if the women were raped mm, at that raped home for some reason, and they ended up giving birth from the rapist or molester that harassed them. So not a lot of people understand why the child may be angry, of why not a lot of people understand that why the child may be angry at them and at their parents, and especially if their parents are mistreating them for not being themselves and not accepting the child for who they are. So that's the thing that some people didn't understand about my circumstances, that since I was being controlled and I didn't like how I was not being accepted for who I am, and that that made me very angry, and especially made me very upset, and it was just not very easy for me to trust. And knowing that I did not have that security, and it just taught me that I was basically on my own at a very young age, I was basically in denial for many years, for thinking that this isn't basically not true. So now that I completely understand the circumstance, and I completely understand that my it wasn't my parents' fault. They were just in a really bad circumstance at the time, and I guess that's why for that I guess that's why some kids get really upset at that, and especially if knowing your history and knowing the family history and understanding everything that was going on in the past, and especially if for some families they have certain secrets in the families, and especially if you're a child and you're trying to understand your family, you're trying to understand why certain things are the way they are and why certain people act the way they do, that makes you very angry inside, and it makes you feel neglected, it makes you feel abandoned, and it just makes you feel like, what exactly is my purpose on earth? And not a lot of people realize that everybody does have a purpose on on this earth. So I guess that's what makes it very difficult for most people to understand. And uh, especially if you have a controlling parent that's that's trying to take advantage of you, especially if they know if especially if they know your childhood weakness, or especially if they have something on you, for it's very hard to get out of that control and be independent yourself when they still have a hold on you. And when um, especially if you're for my circumstance, I care way too much, and that's definitely my problem. So in my position, I have always been the protector, because okay, so, sorry. Since I'm trying to express everything out, and basically this video is more like a diary journal type of thing. um since I never had that protection before, I don't really like see it happen to somebody else. And I guess that's the type of information that I've been hiding. um, because for me, I would rather be hated on and not let them know about the bad circumstances, and I don't want them to believe that they grew up because of a bad purpose. And I would rather have that protected and not let them see. And so with me, I would rather help them, guide them, and rather teach them to a better circumstance than I did, and since I'm very limited of what I can do, I, I would rather help everyone out and get them to where they need to be, even though I may not have a chance to be okay. Okay, and even though I may not have a chance to get out of the situation that I'm in, at least I know that at least I know that the family members that were in the bad circumstance are in a way way better position than I am, and I know they could get through things better than I can in my circumstance. And hope and hopefully it will give a better understanding of, of why certain people that has a complete attitude towards certain family members is probably because certain family members, especially if you're trying to, especially if it's public information, some family members may not be comfortable exposing some of them. And when you're a child and you're trying to expose the bad things that's being put out to you, and other people may not believe it, it's very it's very hard to hold back that anger and not try to show it, and basically try not to try not to show that you're really upset for being blamed when for being blamed for the situation. So I guess that's why, for example, if um if anybody has watched Teen Mom, I, I forgot what was her name, but her mother is a I don't know for the mother is a redhead. I forgot the name, and, but her with her circumstance, you could definitely tell that she's definitely being controlled, because whenever the daughter tries to get her freedom, and especially when she gave birth to her son, she knew that she was already in a bad environment, and she did not want to bring up a child in that environment, because she's already been hurt already. And I guess looking at that circumstance, that's why I'm very aware of not of when I was going through college and everything, I was trying not to get pregnant, because I did not want to bring in a child in my family environment, because it was not very emotionally and mentally healthy. And if I did not in middle school, if I did not mention about any of the problems that I was going through middle school and high school, and with my family, they would have never talked to some of my family members, to my parents at that time. So if I did not say anything, my circumstance right now would have been a lot more worser. And and so, and so everything else, it so with that type of situation, I'm still being controlled in my situation, and I'm trying to be independent on my own, which is why I've been trying so hard to finish school as soon as possible, and trying to get that bachelor's, which is taking longer than expected. And but basically now I'm happy that in a very very good job, and hopefully I don't have to have it as a just a seasonal position, because the job that I have has every benefit that I have, and I never even thought I would even work in a job environment where they had so many benefits that I never even thought of. So if I do get, and especially being able to work in a company where I get to interact with certain famous players and get to interact with other newscasters. I never even thought I would get this far, and if I do get to be stable on my own eventually from all of this, then it will definitely be helpful. But right now, I am definitely happy with the jobs that I have, and hopefully get to improve on that and get to improve on trusting others again, and hopefully and definitely get to that point in my life where I'm completely happy and don't have to deal with any more drama.
Hey, Holly, can you use a paper?